When people think of politics today, they think of lies and corruption, where a growing number of politicians seem to be in office at the pleasure of corporations and conglomerates. There still exists a politician who fights for what he believes in. That politician is Bernie Sanders, and his character is as unique as his life story. With the presidential election looming, Bernie Sanders is as commonplace on social media as emojis, it would seem. It's as the power of the younger generations push for a Sanders presidency, it is important to understand the entire scope of a candidate's life and not just what they present to you on stage. Prior to championing the poor and mistreated, Bernie Sanders and his family were struggling in their own right. A biographical piece by NPR tells us Bernie's early life would reflect his current views. Bernie's family was poor. His father, a struggling paint salesman, struggled to pay rent each month in their 3-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn. An introductory piece by Political paints Bernie's life as difficult, sharing that apartment with his mom, his father, and his 2 older brothers. Following high school, Bernie attended Brooklyn College before transferring to the University of Chicago in 1961. According to CNN, this was where his political activism really began. In January of 1962, Sanders led a 35-student sit-in at the University of Chicago. This was in response to the administration's refusal to allow the integration of student housing. The next year, Business Insider tells us, in August of 1963, Sanders attended the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, which was led by Martin Luther King Jr. This is the march in which Martin Luther King gave his infamous "I Have a Dream" speech. Following an active college career, Bernie would move to Stannard, Vermont, which is about 6 miles north of the capital city of Montpelier. By late 1971, Bernie had been invited to a Liberty Union party by a mutual friend of his. There, among other anti-war activists seeking to form a viable third party in the state of Vermont, Bernie would actually end up volunteering to run for Senate for the Liberty Union Party. Now that you have an understanding of where Bernie comes from, let's discuss his political career. Bernie Sanders would actually lose his first 3 elections. At no point did he ever break 6% of the votes in any of those 3 elections, according to Encyclopedia Britannica. After those defeats, Bernie would break from the Liberty Union Party in the year 1979. From that point onward, Bernie Sanders would identify solely as an independent. He continues to do so today. One entry from Wikipedia tells us that Sanders was first elected to office as mayor of Burlington, and that was in the year 1981. A town in transition and economic disparity, Sanders would serve 4 consecutive terms as mayor of Burlington. Over that time period, he would fix economic issues and establish name recognition in the state of Vermont as a politician. In November of 1990, after a bitter battle with the incumbent Peter Smith, Bernie Sanders was finally elected to Vermont's sole seat in the U.S. House of Representatives. House Democrats actually refused to allow Sanders to caucus with them at the beginning. That decision was later recanted following the Republicans taking control of the House in the year 1995, and they wanted all the help they could get. Bernie has caucused with the Democrats ever since. This is despite him having no party affiliation, and Bernie has also achieved congressional seniority despite not being a part of either party. One of the highlights of Bernie's platform is his fight for inequality. In 2010, Sanders filibustered Barack Obama's plan to extend Bush-era tax cuts for all, including the wealthy. Sanders rose at 10:25 a.m. to begin speaking and did not sit again until 7 p.m. This method of governance has led many to label Sanders as uncompromising and playing to his own tune. NPR political director Ken Rubin actually believes this has contributed to a positive change in the House and Senate environments. Following a long and successful career in the House and Senate, Bernie Sanders turned his attention to the Oval Office. 34 years after being elected mayor of Burlington, Senator Bernie Sanders was now running for president of the United States. He has often been criticized during this time for being rough throughout his campaign with some supporters, probably activists is a more better description. During the 2016 election, for example, Sanders tried speaking over chanting Black Lives Matter protesters, which rubbed some people the wrong way. And then again, that same year, he got in a little argument with protesters at a rally in rural Vermont who were against his views on Israel. While many of Bernie's friends and staffers actually will tell you that he is an impatient man, they will tell you in the same breath that this is because of his work ethic, and he expects everyone to care just as much as he does. Lessons learned in social justice and being raised in the New Deal era have also helped shape Sanders' political views, according to Business Insider. The 2016 election was the first election Bernie Sanders lost in a quarter century. His sense of social and economic justice gave him a chance to end that streak this fall. So let's go over what we just learned about Bernie Sanders. Over the course of this presentation, we've discussed Bernie's roots and how they have shaped his ideals. We followed Bernie's childhood to his active career in college, to a long and successful career in politics, and finally culminating with a revolutionary political campaign for president. Bernie's not your regular politician. He doesn't care for wealth, nor does he come from wealth. He's not in office due to familial connections or any handshake agreements. He's known for his commitment to the issues and unwavering passion over those issues. And I hope throughout this presentation you have enjoyed this little glimpse behind the curtain of potentially the next president of the United States of America. Thank you.